The androids. Easily one of the most recognizable sets of characters to come out of the show that heavily impacted the franchise. Since the Red Ribbon Army's defeat at the hands of Goku, Dr.Gero, who partially created the likes of Major Metallitron and Android 8, would later remodel future androids for the sole purpose of exacting his revenge against Goku.
Boy, did that backfire hard.
I mean, both Android 18 and 17 were the MVPs of Universe 7 during the Tournament of Power arc. Then, of course, Android 16's sacrifice was the turning point that allowed Gohan a chance in defeating Perfect Cell. Oh, by the way, there's Cell, who doesn't even need an introduction. Yet, even after the Cell Games arc, Dr.Gero's presence would still linger well beyond his death, such as the appearance of Gero's wife Reborn, known as Android 21 within Fighters. Then officially, the succession of Gero's work led to the creation of the Gammas and Cell Max, as well as the abomination known as Cell X. And technically this thing as well, which, what the fuck? But before their activation, there is one specific android that preceded them, the man to lead the pack after Gero's unfortunate death from his creations. The unlucky number and the most stereotypical design you could make, the Terminator killing machine Android 13. Technically existing canonically within the manga, though it was a passing mention and nothing more but another failed experiment. But is that true? Is he a failure as Gero made him up to be, or is he just as capable as the others to give the Z Fighters a true challenge? Exactly how strong is Android 13? Before we answer that, as always, I need to break down the most contentious thing when it comes to movie scaling. This time by being straightforward and debunking the two misconceptions that people tend to throw around constantly. The first is, aren't the movies canon to the anime and therefore scaled to whatever arc they could fit into? The answer is a technical no. Now yes, the movies are canon to the franchise in general, nobody will disagree with that. However, Toriyama objectively acknowledges that the films take place in different dimensions and therefore different continuities. Toriyama also acknowledges the Daizenshu and other guidebooks to be valid sources of information, as they would have helped him out during Dragon Ball's publication. Daizenshu 6 outright says movie 7 takes place in a parallel world, as the guidebook explains that the film cannot occur at all since it would contradict the Android saga due to Goku's heart virus and Cell's eventual arrival. Anyone who did watch the show would agree, because by the time Goku is feeling better, he immediately informs Vegeta to train in the time chamber and would later train with Gohan, all while Cell is finding the androids, later leading to the Cell Games. No way would the main cast be shopping if the androids are searching for Goku, or if Cell is killing millions of people. Plus, Takao Koyama acknowledges that when writing the script, he tries to have it based on the anime, but due to the films released alongside the anime and manga, it's hard to be consistent with certain plot points due to film production starting 6 months in advance. Hence the clear number of inconsistencies and contradictions, even placing Toriyama's statements official compared to his, despite further clarifying that Toriyama didn't influence the film's production since it was taboo during the 90s era of anime. I brought this up several times because people don't seem to understand there is a business side to Dragon Ball that heavily impacts the products being released. This leads to the second misconception, which is, don't the movies all occur in one timeline and therefore scale villains to previous antagonists? The answer is also a technical no. If people double check their source, they realize Koyama also goes against this logic. You see, Koyama posted on his blog after watching Battle of Gods back in 2013. After seeing the newest enemy Beerus, these were his thoughts when it came to writing villains. Quote, in handling the scripts for the films, what I always worried about each time was the problem of what to do about the opponent Goku fights against. That's because at the very least, they had to be stronger than the ones from the previous movie. After much hard work, I was unable to come up with an opponent stronger than Broly, and fell into a rut where I made him appear 3 times. End quote. So in his own words, although he tried to raise the stakes for each film, he goes against this just by the mere existence of Broly. Not just once, but several times by 2022, Koyama's thoughts haven't changed on the matter. Even when disregarding Koyama for the moment, Toei Animations also doesn't support such claims by stating that Janemba was the strongest when Fusion Reborn came out, despite Hirudegarn's existence after Janemba. What's more blatant about Koyama's authority was that Toei retracted their statement about Janemba because Koyama clarified who was the strongest in an interview and still believes it to be Broly. Now yes, obviously movies like the Cooler films and Broly can connect. However, when the guidebook's writer and author calls out several times the contradictions and inconsistencies to imply the films must have followed similar events to the manga or anime, and therefore similar scaling within a single timeline, means that that is not the case and invalid. It is like trying to imply GT must scale to Super just because it could have happened before the end of Z, which GT continues after, when GT was created way before Super's production to establish any concepts to suggest that connection other than pure headcanon. Again, I'll repeat one more time, different continuity, therefore different scaling. Several franchises work the same way. Godzilla from the Monsterverse does not scale directly to Showa era Godzilla, Legends canon Darth Vader does not scale directly to his Disney canon counterpart, and yes, manga Goku does not scale directly to Evolution Goku. If fans can understand that Dragon Ball video games have their continuity, then it's perfectly fine to apply the same logic to the movies as well, regardless of the writing quality. Therefore, while people might hate my guts saying this is how I scale each villain by relying on feats, statements, and lore, as each villain is in their self-contained movie continuity. As such, I will not scale Android 13 to the Toei anime or manga, and I will not scale him to any previous movie villains. Now that we finally got that out of the way, again, and probably made some more people triggered, let's continue on to the actual topic. Sometime after the android's activation, the Z Fighters are casually shopping around West City, enjoying some slice of life moments. Little did they know, Android 14 and 15 arrives, causing trouble while looking for Goku. They ultimately find Goku and destroy a good portion of a building, as well as damaging several other buildings during their clash, which are feats I guess. Not wanting to cause more destruction towards West City, Goku and Future Trunks head north towards the glacier to face the androids, which is pretty much their best speed feat in the movie. As confirmed in the guidebooks, they were within West City and flew to the Dragon Ball's version of the North Pole. Looking at the map of Earth within the series, they essentially flew half the circumference distance of Earth. The time duration to reach said distance is 2 minutes at least based on cinematic timing, with the end calc reaching almost 500 times Mach speed. Keep in mind that even supposed weaker characters like Krillin and Kid Gohan travel the distance just as quickly as Goku, further implying this is a lowball. Given the benefit of the doubt and assuming Goku and crew can reach the Arctic in 1 second as a highball, they would peak at sub-relativistic speed or above 6% the speed of light. Don't worry, that's not their max speed as we're about to find out. The androids casually jump on both Future Trunks and Goku, neither standing a chance in base, mostly due to knowing their fighting style based on their collected data. That's when Android 13 finally appears on the battlefield and challenges Goku, pretty much making Goku look like a complete chump in comparison. Android 13 would use his signature attack, the SS Deadly Bomber, where 13 states that Goku trying to block it is considered crazy since it can destroy half of Earth. Keep note of that since we will go back to it later. Goku ends up being saved by Vegeta, getting perhaps one of the best entrances and low-key feats of splitting an entire ice glacier in half just by flexing his aura. Now with equal numbers, the Saiyans handle each android individually. 13 and the others have zero issues with these base Saiyans, showing 13 reacting and speed blitzing Goku's rapid movement. The dude also mocks Goku for being weak and claims he has yet to warm up. Though to give credit to Goku, he catches him slipping and hits him only once, but the best it does is make 13 flinch a bit. Finally realizing their base forms are whack, the 3 Saiyans go super and gain a 50 times boost for their stats. Despite this huge boost, all the androids still give the fighters a huge struggle, with Android 13 still able to hold his own against Super Saiyan Goku. He does get laughably damaged by Gohan's attack, and ultimately the rest of the fighters handle the androids, leaving 13 on his own. Despite the odds, Android 13 absorbs some parts to transform, becoming Super Android 13. Perhaps the most blatant beatdown ever, Super 13 takes all the Z Fighters hits like they're nothing and casually one-shotting them. Goku gets the worst out of it and gets his nads obliterated. But the most impressive durability feat is Goku surviving Super Android 13's onslaught. No joke. Not only is Goku severely damaged, running out of ki, in base, and completely defenseless, he still survived 13's signature attack that can destroy half of Earth. all while in the form above the 50 times multiplier of Super Saiyan 1 and with full killing intent. To destroy a planet the size of Earth, you need to generate enough power to undo what holds it together, which is gravitational binding energy. To find the GBE of a planet or star, you would use the GBE formula and specifically input the mass and radius of the object. Regarding Earth, the amount of energy to fragment it would calc at 10 to the 32 joules of energy, obviously labeled as the benchmark for planet level of attack potency. So naturally, even assuming Android 13 will destroy half of Earth, which merely equates to destroying half of its volume, would still reach at 10 to 31 joules of energy, placing him as a small planet buster. But why stop there? Why not assume Super Android 13 is fully capable of destroying all of Earth, not into pieces, but on a subatomic level? For simplicity, let's assume Earth is made 100% out of concrete. As a power comparison, the amount of energy to fragment just a cubic centimeter of concrete is 6 joules of energy. To subatomic destroy the same cubic centimeter of concrete is, I'm not kidding, over 4 trillion joules of energy. Over 100 billion times the difference in power. It's like comparing the difference between not even a gram of TNT to half a ton of TNT. So now imagine having to destroy concrete with the volume of Earth. The end calc to subatomic eradicate Earth would reach 10 to 40 joules of energy, or small star level of power. This would not be inaccurate, since if we use the mass energy conversion, which is a method to figure out how much energy is required to create an object on a subatom level based on its mass, the number of joules to create planet Earth would also reach around 10 to the 41 joules, close to the amount of energy to destroy Earth made from concrete on a subatomic level. Keep in mind, this was all assuming Android 13 can destroy half, if not all of Earth in just his base form, as he can still rival the 50 times Super Saiyan multiplier and surpass it with his super form. If we downplay his super form to give him a mere 2 times multiplier, overall making him 100 times stronger than base Goku, then his max highball places him to 10 to 43 joules, or large star level of power. Now granted, his super form's multiplier is pure headcanon, since there is little evidence to suggest that he could reach higher and be a solar system buster. Either way, it's still impressive to think Goku might have endured a star level attack in base, unless we assume for some reason Super 13 chose to hold back his power. In the end, Goku, realizing he cannot beat 13, relies on the spare bomb to take him out. Thanks to his friends, Goku had enough time to create his attack. We do also see again that 13 was too strong at this point, once again one-shotting everyone and tanking their attacks with little effort. Goku instinctively went into Super Saiyan and absorbed the spare bomb onto himself, I guess wanting to channel his inner Ultra Instinct or something. He was so strong, 13 was injuring himself trying to damage Goku, sort of like how Moro felt trying to hit MUI Goku. Goku gives 13 the One Punch Man treatment and destroys him for good. Which, I mean, hey, if you think Goku getting a spare bomb amp gave him a 1 trillion times increase just to beat 13, then sure, maybe Super Android 13 is multiversal level for all I know. Now, while 13's story may have ended there, his legacy continues through various game appearances. Although some are movie recreations or gameplay playability, there are a few worth looking into. In his Tenkaichi 3 bio, it claims that due to his knowledge and experience, as well as being the leader, he is naturally stronger than Android 14 and 15. Plus, his super form bio states it's stronger than his base to take out Super Saiyans. So take that info however you wish. Dragon Ball Heroes also gives little material for Android 13. Thankfully, World Mission fixes that and gives him a minor role. The plot focuses on a team of Heroes players chosen to assist Future Trunks and the Supreme Kai of Time, Chronoa, in fixing time distortions. The team is sent to Future Trunks' timeline where they meet Future 17 and 18. Apparently, due to the time distortion, they are more like their present counterparts and not as violent as they normally should be. Soon 13 and the others arrive as well, and they explain how they want the twins to join forces and defeat Goku Black, who's been destroying Earth. The twins turn down the offer as Android 13 doesn't value humanity, which he doesn't take kindly, and faces them and the androids. Android 13 and his crew would get outmatched until Goku Black arrives on the scene to kill off the heroes. Goku Black gives Android 13 an ultimatum to join him or get destroyed, as his actions in killing humanity benefited his plans, so naturally 13 joins his side. Despite Black's assistance, the androids still lose and decide to flee, leaving Goku Black on his own. Eventually, Android 13 and the others come back for round 2, but just like last time, he gets clobbered. Out of desperation, Android 13 absorbs, or I guess technically fuses with Android 14 and 15, achieving his super form. Despite this massive power-up, he eventually meets his demise. The only other thing worth mentioning is that much like most other movie villains, he too is given his King of Destruction form, unleashing his hidden potential on top of his super form thanks to Babetti's sorcery magic. But naturally, he can still be defeated by the player's avatar when you do the mission despite this power-up. Other than that, he makes one more cameo during the Super Dragon Ball Heroes anime and manga within the Super Space Time Tournament arc, teaming up along with the entire roster of androids, but sadly the only thing we see is specifically in the manga, where he faces Lord Slug. The implication is that he gets killed off or his team loses due to tournament rules.
Correction. The newest chapter of Super Dragon Ball Hero shows Super Android 13 about to face against Xenoverse and Super 17. So he's not forgotten, but that's about it. This is only added in because Number sucks at double checking and being up to date with his research. Get off the platform, you pathetic.
If you think his screen time is lacking, well, that's because it is, since Dokkan Battle of all games gives him more of the spotlight than most of Heroes. The basic summary is that an unknown individual summoned Shenron to know who is the strongest throughout time and space. I guess Shenron took this as a wish and caused a multiversal time distortion where the main protag, Future Trunks, is sent to an unknown era, where King Kai tasked him in stopping the distortion from spreading. Naturally, Dr.Gero would arrive due to these time distortions, and so with the Red Ribbon Army. Future Trunks teams up with Yamcha and the player in stopping Gero from his evil plans. Eventually, after facing him and 19, Android 13 along with 14 and 15 are activated to kill off the cast. Of course, they fail again, but Future Trunks does know that 13 is as strong as Android 17 and the others in just his base form. Like most previous scenarios, 13 transforms into a super form, becoming significantly stronger, but regardless, loses to Yamcha of all people, perhaps placing this as the worst L he's taken. But to any of his fans out there, don't worry, he does get a proper victory within Xenoverse 2. He appears for post-game content in the Infinite History Saga, where the player avatar needs to help out Chronoa and Future Trunks in undoing time distortions. The avatar and their selected mentor are sent to the time when the Cell games occur. A demon scientist named Fu, the one who started this distortion, created a portal to allow the future androids and 13 to challenge Perfect Cell. Due to the distortion, Android 13 and the twins obtain their supervillain forms and become stronger than normal. Events change based on your mentor and if you help Fu or not. One outcome is having to save Cell from death and defeating the androids and returning them to where they came from. Second outcome is helping the androids in defeating Cell, which technically meant that 13 is stronger than Cell. Though it gets strange since if you do beat Cell, Goku arrives on the scene to know what happened to him. In doing so, the androids attack Goku and the scenario gets 2 more outcomes. The third outcome is that the androids lose to Goku if you assist them. The fourth outcome is assisting the androids again. Technically, 13 and the twins successfully kill off Super Saiyan Goku. I say technically because based on the cutscenes, it would be inaccurate to state that Android 13 defeated Goku and Cell on his own. Even so, if future Gohan is your mentor, he states that Android 13 is so strong, he surpasses the twin androids. Android 13 himself claims that he's superior, even if he is an older, outdated model compared to the twins. More interesting is that Cell Juniors can appear as another enemy to face, and the androids are strong enough to defeat them, not even considering them as a warm-up. Meaning that while Android 13 is amped during this event, he should still at least be relative if not stronger than 18 and 17, since both also attained the same power up and should not be that far off from Perfect Cell's power. It's a bit interesting that Android 13 tries to find a new purpose if he defeats Goku, since Dragon Ball Legends would give him a new purpose during perhaps his best character arc period. Much like with his previous appearances, Android 13 is taken from his era due to another time distortion, participating in a tournament of time. 13's main goal is to kill off every Goku from the entire multiverse. To do this, he collects as much data from several fighters to become stronger as his means to execute his plan. The protagonist Shallot is targeted by them since he's been messing with Dr.Gero's plans during previous game events. Initially, the androids were overwhelming base Shallot only due to having previous data on his battles, and because Shallot is training to not rely on his Super Saiyan forms at the time. Before having to get serious, Bardock arrives to assist Shallot, and were able to surpass their recorded data and overpower 14 and 15 individually. Both Saiyans nearly killed off 13 by a double team attack, but get saved by 14 at the last second, choosing to run away rather than facing them like in World Mission. He comes back later, this time with more battle data, and can still give base Shallot a run for his money, but this time becomes even stronger thanks to his Dark Ki. It gets interesting here since according to him, he factored his Super Saiyan forms into this battle, which should include Super Saiyan 2 since Shallot used it during his fight against Cell at least before Android 13's crew arrived. However, Shallot goes all out and uses Super Saiyan 3, despite 13 supposedly predicting a potential power-up, and still gets easily overpowered, once again forcing 13 to run away. Out of frustration, he gets triggered to the point he breaks out of his original programming due to his desire to kill Shallot. In doing so, 13 kills off Android 15 for thinking he's malfunctioning, more so proving he does scale above his team if he can one-shot an android on a similar level to him. 13 goes at it with Shallot one last time, but with a new resolve. Transforming into a super form, or fusion form as it's referred to in this game, he casually one-shots two Super Saiyan 2s. Both characters Kaba and Caulifla scaling to the likes of Super Perfect Cell by this point of the story. Shallot immediately goes straight into Super Saiyan 3 and responds to his power, and yet, 13 gets stronger thanks to stacking his Dark Ki power-up. For additional context, Shallot trained within the time chamber to achieve Super Saiyan 3, all just so he can defeat Fat Boo. He was so powerful that Fat Boo could not do anything due to his growth and nearly died from Shallot's attack, but survived because of his regeneration. This much stronger Shallot struggled to take out Super 13 on his own before he channeled his Dark Ki. But I guess as a trend, he reacted more to Bardock's surprise attack despite the power gap. Shallot manages to defeat 13 thanks to Bardock and Teen Gohan's assistance, and likely being more serious compared to their previous battle. 13 succumbs to his injuries but shows gratitude to Shallot for discovering his free will. Unfortunately, his honor gets screwed over since Buhan appears and destroys his remains just to disrespect Shallot. Sucks that he goes out that way, but at least he does get an actual character arc. And that is pretty much all that can be said about his prowess. Overall, in terms of movie scaling, Android 13 is at the very least small planet level given the constant description of his signature attack able to destroy half of Earth. Mid-ball, he can reach large planet level since even base Goku can withstand his planet level attack and would naturally be stronger as a Super Saiyan, whom 13 can rival if not surpass when including a super form. As for his benefit of the doubt high ball scaling, he peaks to large star level since it really depends on how far you want to calc his planet level scaling, base Goku's durability, and of course the vague multiplier of a super form since it required a Spirit Bomb power up to defeat him. As this placement is based on the lore of his attack, which I intentionally hyped up to the max, I won't say there is consistent evidence to suggest he ranges around star level, but just note that he's for sure a high level planet buster, and anything beyond that is up to you guys to decide. As for speed, sadly the only thing we can say is based on the feat of traveling from West City to the North Glacier. The only other additional boost is the Super Saiyan multipliers and 13 super forms vague increase. As such, low ball they are high hypersonic plus, or hundreds of times faster than sound. Mid-ball, the cast including 13 would be sub-relativistic plus, since the low-ball speed stat multiplied by 50 times a Super Saiyan would nicely place 13 to a similar level. High-ball, Android 13 is faster than light just by the vague increase of a super form, and assuming the heroes can travel to the North Glacier in a second and then stack Super Saiyan on top of that. Anything past that is pure speculation leading to mostly headcanon. Game scaling wise, Android 13 is surprisingly consistent for his overall placement. The minimum presentation of his power is that he's at least as strong, if not stronger, than Android 17 and 18, present and or future timeline versions. The same can be said about his crew, at least rivaling or outclassing Android 14 and 15. His higher presentation of powers such as Xenoverse 2 and Legends places him above the likes of Cell Games era characters like Full Power Super Saiyan Goku and Perfect Cell. While it's true that he was amped due to his supervillain mode, he then scales relative to Fat Buu if he can give Super Saiyan 3 Charlotte more of a challenge than that version of Majin Buu. All because of having combat data made him stronger than he normally would not possess. If you do want to include his external power-ups like the Dark Key, Destruction King form, or Supervillain form, he could theoretically be stronger, but to what extent we don't know. If you're wondering if he could scale to Heroes characters to suggest 13 has multiversal level scaling, the answer is no, because there is little evidence to support such a claim other than assuming that is the case via association fallacy. I doubt we will get any new material for 13 given that he's officially dead within the manga, and what with the existence of 21 and the Gammas being the evolution of previous androids. We'll just have to wait and see what's in store for him in his trucker hat. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. Pretty bare bone and not as complex compared to previous villains I've already covered, but still an interesting character nonetheless. And before I end things, to those who are adamant that Android 13 must scale above previous villains and that I'm a dummy dum-dum to suggest otherwise, I'll just add my last argument to put the final nail in the coffin. Metacooler precedes Android 13. According to the guidebooks, his second movie should take place during the 10 days before the Cell games, at least within the supposed movie continuity. Mind you, whether he was alive in his final form or as his meta form, I concluded that at his peak of power, he scaled to the likes of Frieza, who can destroy Planet Vegeta, that when hyped up and stacking his form multipliers easily places him to the star to max solar system levels of power, reaching several dozens of times faster than light to unironically infinite speed for reacting and catching Goku during mid-instant transmission. You can check all this out in my cooler video, as I already broke down his power scaling for his movies and games. Then you have 13, who is at best a large planet buster, questionably a star buster, and questionably a few times faster than light in his super form, and at worst, weaker in his base form. Don't forget his film occurs before the Cell games. So the logic that, oh well, every villain must be stronger than the last, means that Metacooler, a star buster from a future arc, is weaker than a planet buster android from a previous arc. Does that at all make sense to you guys? The answer is hopefully no, it does not. And whoever is smart enough to suggest that, oh well, maybe Super Android 13 happens before Metacooler, would automatically go against the logic that all the movies occur linearly, or that future villains must be stronger than the past ones. I'm very confident with my claims, and I'm sure I'm gonna trigger a few people out there, but that's just how movie scalings be like sometimes. Don't blame me, blame Broly for his existence. But you know what? Who am I to tell you how to think? Maybe Android 13 is truly the strongest in all of Dragon Ball. Maybe he can easily punch the Gammas like they're babies. He could probably one-finger Cell Max into oblivion in just his base form. Maybe he'll look at Android 21's final form and just wave his hand and say, "Be gone!" and hardly break a sweat. Hell, I'm sure he'll laugh at Broly and then deadly bomber him to the sun. Cause Android 13's power is truly maximum. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment as to how strong you think Android 13 is. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Maybe you learned something new, or maybe you respect this character a bit more. I appreciate everyone's support. It's all in good fun. Have a nice day, and I'll see y'all later.